Welcome back. If you ask the experts in Washington, Donald Trump needs a good woman. And I do not mean Melania. She is absolutely lovely. We mean a female running mate, a solid conservative leader who has chops and wears a skirt. Tara Setmayer, who's the former GOP communications director on Capitol Hill, she was on the show last night, and she said this about that.
Trump is probably going to pick a woman, and we've already seen several Republican women that are vying for Trump's affections, from Kristi Noem to Elise Stefanik and others. So to Sarah Palin, even potentially.
A lady on Trump's ticket would add a whole new dimension to his campaign, and it would most certainly diffuse some of that sexist stuff that Trump has had to fight off in the past. And in the future, too, because he's still facing an open lawsuit on that front. It's a defamation case against a lady. I could go on. But there are 4 Republican women who are most often mentioned as possible Trump running mates. And you just heard Tara talk about them. Nikki Haley, Elise Stefanik, Kristi Noem, and Sarah Palin. So let's run down the chart here. Haley is the most prepared on paper. She was the governor of South Carolina. She was Trump's ambassador to the United Nations. But despite their close working relationship, and I mean close, plus friendship, they've said some pretty caustic stuff about each other. In 2016, when Trump was running, Haley said she'd endorse any Republican except Trump. And then during her official Republican response to President Obama's State of the Union, she said, took a real shot here. She said, during anxious times, it can be tempting to follow the siren call of the angriest voices. We must resist that temptation. And Trump heard it, because he fired back at her saying, she's weak on illegal immigration, and she certainly has no trouble asking me for campaign contributions. Nevertheless, Haley joined Trump's administration. But then after the January 6th riots, she told Politico magazine, and I quote, we need to acknowledge that he let us down. He went down a path that he shouldn't have, and we shouldn't have followed him, and we shouldn't have listened to him, and we can't let that ever happen again. So, running mate material? Okay, let's talk about Elise Stefanik. At 38 years old, she has been a congresswoman since 2015 and has made a huge shift to the right since then. She backed Trump during his impeachment. She backed his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Trump is a huge fan of hers, and during her fundraiser for her this year, he said this: I want to congratulate Elise on her success. Man, is she moving fast. And that means, at this rate, she'll be president in about 6 years. She's always been a friend. And then there's South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. She's nationally known. She's popular with the conservatives. But she took a bit of a hit when she said recently that she's comfortable with women leaving her state to get an abortion. She also recently said Trump should not be carved into Mount Rushmore, something that Trump had previously told her he dreamed about. And then finally, there's Sarah Palin. Trump endorsed Sarah Palin in her Senate race. She's been one of his biggest supporters. She's also actually been a running mate before, so that's big. Remember, she was with John McCain in 2008. So with all that, Cheri Jacobus is still with me. She's a former Republican strategist, host of the podcast Politics with Cheri Jacobus. So Cheri, the question there is, those are the 4, but are they the 4? Do they have a shot? Are there more I'm not thinking of?
I'm even having a hard time thinking of Trump running again. I don't think it matters who he picks as his running mate. The first thing people are going to be saying, well, why isn't it Mike Pence? And that'll be the thing on everybody's mind. And also, Trump sucks all the air out of the room. He's also got a lot of legal problems. He could find himself under indictment. I expect that he will be. So it just feels weird that we're even discussing these women. I don't think it would be anybody who's ever criticized him. We know that he's very thin-skinned. It has to be somebody who would totally kiss his ring. So that would be Elise Stefanik. It has to be somebody who's totally in on the QAnon thing, all things MAGA, support the big lie, no matter what he says. And that's the only thing that will matter to him. It doesn't matter what advisors will say. But again, I think that's a big if he's even going to have any kind of a viable candidacy, given the fact that there's so much criminality surrounding him, so many legal issues. We have a long way to go before it's even remotely relevant to be having a conversation about who his running mate would be, whichever their gender would be.
Maybe you and me, but I think he is thinking about these things. I mean, if Paul Manafort's right, he is thinking about the run. He's going to run. So you can bet your bottom dollar he's having conversations with his peeps about who the running mate would be. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.